Hello and welcome to Low Budget Gaming and welcome to another first descent video. So finally my ultimate Valby build is ready. This was ready a few days ago, but I was waiting for the update on Wednesday to see if there are any significant changes. They did not do anything to Valby or buff anyone, but they did buff the Enlightened Mage set. So previously, if you see the 4 set effect, the truth stacks, the 3 stacks, they had a 5-second duration. They have increased that to 15. This has made it a lot better and more usable. In fact, previously I was actually building with the Slayer set because this wasn't reliable enough in terms of having the power for a long time. Anyway, we'll talk about the external components later. Now, as far as Valve is concerned, in the Q&A, the dev Q&A on Discord in the last few days, they have mentioned that they are looking into buffing her and changing a few things on her. So in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, who knows, we may see some improvements to Valby. As of right now, I feel like she's just not powerful enough. And so far, I've only found one Transcendent mod that is somewhat satisfying to use. The others just don't feel like she's strong enough or doing enough damage compared to some of the other mobbing Descendants. So having said that, this is the build here, the crit-based supply moisture um, build. So what this does is basically this Transcendent mod increases her crit rate. So if you see here, while we are standing, I have an 18% crit rate with all the mods and things like that. By default, Valby has only 5%, but this mod gives her 20% extra crit. Like if you had nothing, just standing on water will increase her crit and will also increase her weapon crit and things like that. So if you look here, when using skills while standing on water, increases firearm attack, firearm critical hit rate, skill critical hit rate, and skill duration, which also increases the attribute trigger rate of firearms. Hurdles created by skills are also considered to be water. So basically, you can either use this to make a gun build, let's say, and increase the crit on your gun, or you can also use your skills because skills also get a lot of crit increase. So if you see here, trigger rate increase 2%, firearm attack increase 10%, firearm critical hit rate increase 20%, skill critical hit rate increase 20%, and skill duration up is 10%. So the skill critical hit rate increase, it doesn't add 20% of existing crit rate, it actually gives you 20% more. So she has 5%, it becomes 25%. And then with all the mods, you can take her almost close to 100%. So let me show you. So first thing, we have 18.8635% crit rate. Okay, now I'll just use one of our abilities. We are standing on water and her crit goes up to 93%. This is good enough. I couldn't get it up to 100, but this is as good as I can get for now. Now, the other thing we do is we use the Peacemaker. This also helps with damage because it gives you stacks. The unique ability gives you stacks that increase your non-attribute power. You also have the Mage set, which gives you power. So this is one of those builds where all these things are combining to give her more skill power. Okay, so let's just finally look into the build here. So supply moisture is our Transcendent mod. And then because we are in the crit based setup, we are using all the crit related stuff. So emergency measures, front lines, crit rate and crit damage increase. We use focus on fusion and we could use focus on non-attribute as well. But I'm using power increase for the same reason we use power increase in the plague set because we'll have too much non-attribute power. So in order to balance things up a little bit, we will use power increase because the gun will give you non-attribute power. The set, the 4-piece external set will give you non-attribute power. So you're using power increase just to balance everything. You lose a little bit of cooldown, but it's not that big a deal because the cooldown is still very low. Skill insight for crit rate, skill concentration for more crit damage, and then 2 mods for cooldown, and we have 1 mod for expansion. Because this increases our duration as well, I'm not using a skill extension mod to increase the duration. We don't really need duration increase here. And so this is what I'm currently running with. Now, the mod here does not change any of the archetypes. Our first and fourth are fusion types. Our second and third are dimension types. And we are using a fusion reactor to power up our first and fourth abilities. And first ability is on a low cooldown. So we will be spamming our first ability. We will not be going into the cleanup, the third, which is kind of a trademark thing, but it's just not powerful enough. It's not fast enough. And yeah, I'm just not satisfied with this cleanup at the moment. Hopefully they buff this ability because this is like her main ability. So yeah, so I'm using 1 and 3. You can still use this one to put water and increase your crit rate while you're standing, but I'll be using 1 and 4 more regularly. Okay, so now looking at the reactor, since I said we are working with fusion, we are going with a fusion reactor, non-attribute and fusion. And the one I've selected here is cooldown and crit hit rate. Remember the crit rate in going up here. So you can use crit damage if you wanted. So for example, I have another one. This is fusion skill power boost ratio. So a little more power, fusion power and cooldown. So this was my previous reactor. You can use this with the other builds where you're not using the crit skills, the hydro pressure bomb and stuff like that. Again, it's not powerful enough, but this is what I was using. You also have things like dimension skill power. If you're using second and third, which I'm not using in this case, but you could use this one if you wanted. What else do I have? I have duration up. Critical hit damage, you can use a bit on the critical hit damage. If you don't have critical hit rate here, what you'll end up with is about 80 something percentage. So let me just put something in here. Let's put this one here. Okay. So this goes down to 16.9, about 17%. While standing in water, this will go up to 85, which is still pretty good. You could go with this one if you wanted, depending on what you find, because it can be hard to find a reactor. This took me a while to get hold of. This cooldown and crit hit rate. You can also go with crit hit rate and crit damage. That would be a good option. Anyway, so I wanted cooldown because we are spamming our first ability, and I wanted to increase the hit rate as well because we have decent crit damage of 4.46. So this is good. Crit rate, crit damage will take this closer to 5 times, which will be good. So you can try something like that. A few options there. So critical hit rate and cooldown is what I'm using. You can go with crit damage and crit rate. You can go with cooldown and crit damage. You can go with crit damage and fusion power. That would be the best in slot for power. Okay, so you can use a few things. As discussed earlier, we are using the mage set. So this mage set, what it does is 2 pieces will give you 6% skill power, which would be normal power, base power. And then the rest of them, the 4 pieces, will lower your firearm attack, which is not great, but it is what it is. With the 4 pieces, when using a non-attribute skill, it gives you a stack of truth. You can see that symbol with the minus in the middle. First 2 stacks you can build up very quickly. The third stack will last for 15 seconds and then it will end and then it will start again. There's no cooldown as such. So this will be good. It will give you 84% power. So let me just build up the quantum domain. We'll build up the power from the gun. We'll talk about the gun power as well. And we'll build up the truth stack. So I'm trying to get 15 of the quantum domains. Because I'll talk about the gun after this. 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, now we have 3 stacks of truth. Now we'll hit the enemy here and notice our non-attribute power, 1.47. This will go down. We are getting some from the gun. We are getting some from the 3 stacks. So this has gone down now, the one from the stacks of truth. And now we'll lose the ones from the gun as well. So this is when you're standing there not on water. So you're getting crit power by just standing on water. You're getting power, non-attribute power from the gun, the 5 stacks on the gun. And you're getting 84% more from the 3 stacks of truth. So this is giving you power like this. Now let's look at the gun here because gun is also kind of important in this setup. So first let's look at the unique ability. Now this is nothing new. This has been the case. This is Valby's gun since pretty much day 1. So when using a dimension or fusion skill grants the unique ability single reload for piece. Okay. When single reload for piece is at max stacks, shooting while aiming rapidly fires the loaded round. So this is just a side thing because people don't really use to fire this. So normally your gun fires like this. Okay. But if you have the middle one, you can see the 3 stacks in the middle, the third one, the one in the middle, that's the single reload for piece. So what this does is you can shoot like this. It will empty all your bullets in one go. So that is the effect on the gun. However, it also builds up stacks of non-attribute skill power. So you'll get 5 stacks which is good, which is why we hold the gun, since we are spamming her abilities, either fusion or dimension. All her abilities will work to increase the stacks of non-attribute power. So you'll have that at 5 pretty much all the time if you are in a busy area like Sigma sector or 400%, things like that. So you'll permanently have the benefit of that and get a lot of power from the non-attribute from the gun just by holding the gun. Okay, since we are holding the gun, I've also put sprint cores on it to make it as fast as possible. So because the stage 30 has become a lot easier, I played a bunch. I think I did it like 25 times, and I got lucky with the rolls on the sprint core. So I got 20%, 19%, and another 20%. Firearm critical hit damage is at 101%, which is at max. Fire rate is 19. So one sprint is at 19 and fire rate is at 19. Both of those could be taken to 20 to get the maximum. With the 3 sprint cores, we are getting 1272 sprint speed. Remember, max is 1300. So we'll see what the devs do in terms of changing the third ability, because there is a slight disadvantage with the third. Well, not a slight. So you can see here with our Peacemaker in our hand, we're getting 1272. If we go into our third, the cleanup, you'll see we are at movement speed is locked at 1000. Okay, because we are swimming, sprinting, movement speed 1000. So we are not getting the sprint speed, we are getting the movement speed of 1000. So she's slower like this compared to running with the gun in hand, because we are getting almost 1300 here and we are locked at 30. So they could probably just increase the speed here if they want to buffer more damage with the third and increase the speed. Maybe even make it fusion with one of the mods, something like that. That would be very useful. I don't know if that happens. Now, another thing with the gun here is even if you're not shooting the gun, it is useful because her fourth ability, which is the don't even remember what it's called, laundry bomb. The laundry bomb, if you see exclusive weapon on the right hand side, cooldown, MP cost, exclusive weapon, max bullets times 15. This is similar to Frena's fourth, where you can increase the shots on the exclusive weapon by modding your gun that you're holding in your hand. So we get 15. Okay. Now what we can do is we put a mod to expand the weapon. This one gives us 49%. Compulsive magazine, this is the second best rounds mod, so this gives us 39. So 49 and 39 takes us to 88%. And if we can squeeze 12% from the roll on the gun, rounds per magazine, I have 11.1%. So we are at 99.1%, meaning if it was 100, we would get another 15, meaning 30. Because we are not at 12% here, we'll get 99 because they tend to round down. Okay, so if we pull out our fourth, we have, remember, we'll get 29. Okay, so normally it's 15, but we mod it to get 29. Okay, now set this focus. Now I have another gun, the this one here, Nazistra's Devotion. This was for Rena's fourth. I got lucky here and I got a perfect 12%. So you'll see with this one, our numbers will line up nicely. We will get 100% more rounds per magazine, meaning we will get 30 here. See 30 over here. Okay. Now, if you are using the Slayer set, remember the Slayer set also gives you extra rounds, 10% more with your 9% more. So you could potentially 109%. So yeah, you will get another bullet. Okay, because 15 is default, 9% of 15 will be 1.35. They round it down to 1. So you'll get 31 bullets if you had 12% perfect rolls and the Slayer set and things like that. But 29 is good enough in my opinion, as long as you're getting another couple of bullets. It's not that big a deal. Anyway, so that is how you mod your Peacemaker. So your Peacemaker helps you with more power or non-attribute power, and it also gives you extra rounds if you mod it this way for your fourth ability. Okay, so we've covered everything else. A quick look at inversion reinforcement. Again, nothing really important if you, depending on what you want here. You are getting benefits of the area burst inducer, you're getting the quantum domain, you are getting the extra defense. You get a lot of defense here when you're picking up the MP recovery ops. I saw like 25k defense during the mission, but it's still not helpful because the components, external components, don't give you a lot of health. So I go with the antibody explosion. You can also use something like the probabilistic recovery system, and you can pick something else that you like, maybe get more health or something. MP, you may need more MP if you're spamming the cost ability, so I would pick something like that here. And yeah, if you're using the gun, you can pick one of these if you want. For Arche Tuning, what I have done is for the crit setup, I've tried to take the 3 crit rate nodes here, crit damage, cooldown, take all the skill power, range, and take the big one here, and we get here. Now, if you're feeling a little squishy because our health is not a lot here, 8,918, you could go down here and pick up a little more health. Did I go with the health bit? Yeah, you can use something like this here. This would be the non-crit build because you're not taking the extra crit. Or if you want health over crit, you can take a little bit of health. This would give you 10,000, which would be a little better. But yeah, solo you shouldn't have a problem. If you end up using your third ability and going into a crowd of enemies, that could pose a problem. But otherwise, you should be okay. So yeah, so that is it. I think we have covered everything here. So yeah, so this is basically my Valby setup. A lot of things have to sort of work and gel together. And even here, other descendants like Inez, Freyna, Serena, they are still much stronger. So she needs a little bit of a buff. But if you build it like this, you'll still have fun. You'll clear your 400% comfortably. Your Sigma sector is fun with this. And she'll be fine if you really like playing Valby. But yeah, I'm hoping they give her a little bit of a buff in to just make her more viable, like she used to be in the past. So yeah, that is my Valby setup here. Thank you for watching as always, and see you next time.